Right, solve, I'm going to distribute first. Maybe I'm going to distribute, oh, I need a pen, that would probably work. Distribute first. 21x plus 21 plus 5x, so minus 21, and I get negative 8, 208 equals 26x, divide by 26, and I think x equals, I think it's negative 8, but let me just check. Yep, negative 8. Okay. Same thing on the next one, right? Distribute the negative 6. So I've got negative 2 minus 48v plus 6 equals negative 236. So I'm going to add 2, subtract 6. That's the same as subtracting 4. So negative 48v is going to equal negative 240 divided by negative 48. V is going to be 5. Negative 112 equals negative 7v minus 56. So add 56. V equals 8. Negative 56r plus 7, 161 minus 7. Negative 56r equals negative 168. 3. So, divide by negative 56. So r equals 3. Okay, so I think everybody who put in an answer, except for one person, and that one person just forgot a negative sign. So that was a good job, you guys. Okay, so we're moving on to inequalities. If you're looking for it in the module, I always move the new modules up to the top. So it is before module 1 now, so module 2 is before module 1. So the newest modules are always at the top, so it's easier to find what we're looking at, looking for, and what we're working on. So it's always at the top. If there's any questions about that, please let me know. I'll show you where it's at. Okay, so we're moving on to inequalities. Okay. We're going to start with basic inequalities first. What is an inequality? Well, an inequality is a less than, greater than, less than or equal to, greater than or equal to. That's all an inequality is. Okay? Any questions so far? Awesome. Okay. So here we go. Determine if the given numbers are a solution of the inequality. I am not picking A, B, C, or D. I am doing, there's four different problems I have to do. I have to plug in each of those numbers and see if it's a solution or not. So I have 4 different problems to do in number 1. And all I'm going to do is wherever there's a variable, I'm going to substitute in whatever number it says. So in this case, I'm substituting in 0. So I would do, I'm going to zoom in a little bit, sorry. 5 times 0 minus 6. It's got to be greater than 1 minus 2 times 0. And then I've got 5 minus 6. It's got to be greater than 1 minus 0. Oh, negative 1 is greater than 1. Is that true? Is negative 1 greater than 1? Anybody? Does anybody know if -1 is bigger than 1? Thank you. Thank you, Oscar. No, it is not. So this is not a solution. So now I'm going to do it for the next one. And since I wrote a little big, I'm going to come down here. So I've got 5 times 1 minus 6. It's got to be greater than 1 minus 2 times 1. So 5 times 1 is 5, minus 6 is greater than 1 minus 2. So again, we've got -1. Oh my gosh. Wow, my math is really good. Sorry, I'll go back and fix the first one. Is greater than -1. Is -1 greater than -1? Anybody? -1 greater than -1? You can type the answer in chat. You don't have to say it out loud. I know it's early in the morning, but come on, guys. No, it's not. It's equal to, so it's not greater than. So this is also not a solution. Sorry, you guys. I don't know how my multiplication came out here, but this should not be 5. Oops. I should probably erase that. This should be 0, which means this is going to change. So this is 0 minus 6, and this is -6. It doesn't change the answers because it's still not a solution. It just changes my math because I did it wrong. Sorry. Okay. And now I'm going to plug in -1, and I'll come back up here. So I've got 5 times -1 minus 6 has got to be greater than 1 minus 2 times -1. So I've got -5 minus 6 is greater than 1 plus 2. Is -11 greater than 3? Let's see on it.
No.
Uh-oh. Ooh, ooh. My screen just went black for a minute. Sorry. No, it is not. Thank you for saying that, whoever it was. No, it is not. So this is not a solution also. Okay, and then on to the last one, 4. So I'm going to come down here. So I've got 5 times 4 minus 6 is greater than 1 minus 2 times 4. So 20 minus 6 has got to be greater than 1 minus 8. So is 14 greater than -7? Yes, finally. So this one is a solution. So in our 4 choices, all of them could not be a solution. All of them could be a solution or any mix thereof. So this is how that's going to work. I'm going to go ahead and put both the problems up here. And I want you to go ahead and do both of them. Put the answers. Should probably start recording. Sorry. I hope if you get the answer wrong, you see what you did wrong so you can figure it out. Most of you have gotten them right, though. So I've got 2 times 0 less than 6 minus 0. 3 is less than 6. This is a solution. And then I've got 2 times 1 plus 3. X minus 1. Less than 6. 5 is less than 5. 2 times -1. If I do my math wrong, someone please tell me. 6 minus a -1. -2 plus 3 is less than 6 plus 1. 1 is less than 7. Solution. And then we've got 2 times 4 plus 3 is less than 6 minus 4 plus 3 is less than 6 minus 4. 11 is less than 2. A solution. Okay, questions? Everyone okay with what we're supposed to do? I think on the delta math, I'm not gonna say that I remember because I don't. I think that they give you like maybe two or three values, and then they ask which values are a solution, and so you might have to still figure it out 2 or 3 times, and they'll say which ones are a solution, and you'll have to choose the ones that are the solutions. So I think that's what it is on delta math. Okay, so next, so we're going to define interval notation. You've used interval notation. Whenever we do domain and range, we use interval notation. Well, you do that when we answer inequalities also. So I use a bracket if I have a less than or equal to or greater than or equal to sign. And then I use a parenthesis. I use parentheses if I have a less than or greater than sign, okay? So on my solution, and again, infinity, we don't know where infinity is, so we use a parenthesis with that. And then last time in our 8A classes, we came up with, if we're typing infinity into the computer, into the chat box, we're just using 2 little O's next to each other. It kind of looks like infinity. Negative infinity, you just put the sign negative in front of it. Kind of looks like a negative infinity. You can spell out the word infinity if you want when you're typing your answers into the chat box, whichever is easier for you. But pretty soon we're just all using the double zeros because it's just easier to type and quicker to type. So just a little FYI for you guys, so it'll be easier to type. We cannot type the graphs into the chat box. That's okay. We're going to just type the interval notation when it's your turn. So here we go. This one's pretty easy. Graph each inequality and write the solution using interval notation. So when I'm graphing, I don't have to have a whole bunch of numbers on the graph. I really only have to have 3, the number I'm talking about and 1 on either side of it. So for this first one on my graph, I need to have -3 and a number on either side of it. So -4 and -2. I don't have to have 0, does not have to be on my graph, on my number line. That is fine. If 0 is not on there, it's okay. So it's great. Oh, the other thing, sorry, I just almost forgot. When I'm doing my graphing, if I have a greater than or equal to or less than or equal to, I use a solid dot on the graph. And if it's a or equal to less than or greater than, I use an open dot. So that's another thing that we need to talk about when we're graphing. So number 1 is y is less than -3. So is it going to be open or closed? Because it's less than.
Open.
Yeah, good. Because it's less than, it's going to be open. Thank you for talking to me so I don't feel like I'm talking to myself. Von Sherman. So it's an open dot at -3. And then it says y is less than negative 3. So which way is less than? To the left or to the right? Is negative 4 less than 3 or is negative 2 less than 3 is basically the question we're asking. Which number is less than negative 3?
Negative 4.
Negative 4, yep. So I draw my arrow this way. Now it wants me to write also, write the solution using interval notation. So now I'm just going to use my domain notation. I'm just going to write the basically to put it into easier, so you understand a little easier, I guess, is I'm going to write the domain of this graph. I'm going to write the domain of the graph. Well, the domain goes from negative infinity, not included because we don't know where infinity is, to negative 3, also not included. So that's interval notation. It's writing the domain of that graph. That's it. That's all we're doing. Done. Okay, so for number 2, we're going to do the same thing. And I've got a 6 and a 5 and a 7. Okay, so it says greater than or equal to, so this time instead of being an open dot, it's going to be a closed dot. So at 6, I'm going to have a closed dot. Okay, and then on your homework, yes, in Delta Math you can. They have figured out a way that you can actually do these graphs in Delta Math, so you will have to do the graphs in Delta Math, okay? And then it says x is greater than 6, so which number is greater than 6? Either 5 or 7. Well, 7's greater than 6, so my arrow goes this way this time. And then the domain for this graph is my lowest to the left. Remember, domain always goes from least to greatest, would be 6, and that's included. And it's going to infinity, which is not included. Okay, so I'm going to give you like, oh my gosh, 2 minutes maybe to do A and B and put your answers in the chat box. And all you have to put in the chat box is just the domain part because you can't put the graph in there. So go ahead and get that done. Thank you. All right, so it looks like we need to talk about the first one a little bit, just because some people are in the interval notation. I'm not sure what's going on with your domain, but we're going to talk about it. So I've got negative 4, negative 5, and negative 3. So I know I have a closed dot at negative 4, and it's greater than negative 4. So which way is greater than negative 4? It's to the right or towards negative 3. So my graph goes this way. So my domain, my lowest domain is negative 4, and then it goes to infinity. Okay? So for those of you who had it negative infinity to negative 4, I'm not sure what happened there, but I hope that that looks okay, since no one asked me questions. So this is y is less than negative 6, so I have an open dot at 6. Which number is less than 6 is 5, so it's going this way. And every answer that I saw of this one was correct. So this goes from negative infinity to 6, and it's not included, so it's a parenthesis. Okay, is there any questions on that? Okay, so we're going to go ahead and go on to the next set of problems. And it just says solve, so we're going to solve it. And then graph. So we've just added a step this time. So first we're going to solve. So we solve first, and then we graph, and then we write an interval notation. So we graphed and written in interval notation last time. We've just added solving to it. So that's all we're going to do. And we solve just like if it's an equal sign. So nothing's changed except for the sign is inequality now. I'm still doing the same stuff. If it, like on the warm-up this morning, you guys almost all solved that warm-up really well. I'm doing exactly the same thing. Just because it has an inequality sign does not mean I'm changing how I'm solving this. So I'm going to add, I'm going to add 6 to both sides. And I get t is less than or equal to 10. So now I need to graph that. 10, 9, 11, and we've got or equal to, so it's a solid dot at 10, and it's less than 10, so it's this way. So my domain would be, let's see, what would it be? Negative infinity to 10 included. Okay, questions? So for the second set, or number 2, I'm going to add 12 to both sides. And I've got x is greater than 1. So I've got 1, 0, and 2. And then it's an open dot at 1. And x is greater than 1, so it's going this way. And so my domain would be starting at 1. That's my lowest one. It's open, so it's not included, and it's going to infinity because we have the arrow there. It's not included. Okay, questions? All right, now it's your turn. So we've got 4 problems for you to do. All right, so here we go. Super easy. I don't know if it's super easy for all of you guys, but here we go. Where am I at? Here we go. So subtract 2 from both sides, and I've got x is greater than negative 1. So here's my number line. 0, negative 2. And it's open dot at negative 1 and greater than negative 1. So I've got from negative 1 to infinity, both parentheses. Okay, so subtract 9. X is greater than negative 3. And again, it's open at negative 3, and it's greater than negative 3, so it's going to, oh, I wrote my numbers in the wrong place. Negative 4 and negative 2, there we go. So my domain goes from negative 3 to infinity. Add 11, it's too early in the morning. X is less than or equal to 9. So 9, 10, 8. Solid dot on 9, and it's less than 9. So we've got from negative infinity to 9 included. And divide by 9. And y is less than negative 9. So negative 9, negative 10, negative 8. And it's open at negative 9 and less than negative 9. So negative infinity to negative 9. Okay, there you go. If you have any questions, make sure you're asking. So then we have a problem of the only difference other than solving, the only difference from solving an equation and an inequality is if I multiply or divide by a negative number. Does anyone know what happens when I have to multiply or divide by a negative number? To my inequality sign. So if I multiply or divide by a negative number, it doesn't mean if my answer is negative. Only if I multiply or divide by a negative number, the you change, how do I want to put this? You change the direction of the inequality, and I totally spelled inequality wrong. Quality sign. So less than becomes greater than. Okay? So I change the direction of it. If I multiply or divide by a negative number, the sign flips. Awesome. So, but not if my answer's negative. So I just want to really stress this because I've seen a lot of students work where if my answer was negative, they change the direction of the sign. It's not if the answer is negative. It's if I divide by a negative number or multiply by a negative number. Although most of the time you guys know we divide. So, but if I multiply or divide by a negative number, then my sign flips. Not if my answer is negative. I just want to kind of make sure I stress that enough. Okay, so let's go practice now. And some of these will get some negative numbers and some of them we won't. But just in case we do, we'll flip the sign. Now this just says, the directions here just say solve and then write using interval notation. So I don't actually have to graph this one unless you need it to help you write that domain. So then you could just sketch a quick graph if you need to. So I'm going to solve this first. So I'm going to subtract 4m and add 3. Okay, so I've got 10 is greater than or equal to 5m. Divide by 5. And I get 2 is greater than or equal to m. So then that means if I'm going to sketch a graph, which I like sketching a graph, so you guys don't have to, but I'm going to just sketch a quick one. It's not even going to be as good as the ones that we were doing on the last page, and those weren't necessarily the best. So I've got 2, and m is less than 2, so I'm going this way. So my domain would be negative infinity to 2. Okay? Questions? Okay, so and the second one's a little more complicated, just only because there's just more parentheses. Doesn't mean it's any harder. It just means I have to do more before I can get it simplified to solve. So I'm going to distribute, and distribute. So I get 8 plus 4x. And the way my math's been doing today, guys, make sure I don't make any mistakes. 2x plus 6 minus 15x. So I'm going to subtract 4x. And I'm also going to subtract 6 from both sides. So I think I'm going to get 2 is greater than, it's negative 2, negative 17x. Divide by negative 17. So x is going to be greater than negative 2 over 17. So I divided by a negative number, so my sign flipped direction. So it was greater than, now it becomes less than. My sign changes directions. So if I was to sketch a quick graph of this, I'd have negative 2/17, open, and x is greater than that, so it's going to go this way. So I would have negative 2 over 17 to infinity. Beautiful. Okay. All right, I think I might only be able to get, oh yeah. Well, I'm going to put all 4 of them up here, but I have, okay, I'm going to go ahead and start because most of you have at least A done. So So it's less than 29 over 5. So my interval notation is going to go from negative infinity to 29 fifths. Okay. Whew. Okay, let's go to B. So I have brackets inside of parentheses inside of a bracket. That means I have to start on the very inside. So I'm going to start by distributing this negative through. I'm going to distribute the 5, 15m minus 5m minus 20, negative 2m plus 8. So add 2m. Add 20. So 15, 16, 17 minus 5 is 12m is greater than or equal to 28. Divide by 12. M is going to be greater than, 4 goes into both of those, 7/3. So it's going to be greater than 7/3, so that means it's going to be 7/3 to infinity. Okay. So now on to the fractions. So luckily these fractions go into the numbers, which is kind of, it makes it nice. So when I distribute it, it's an easier problem. So 1/4 of 8 is 2y. And 1/4 of 4 is 1 minus 17. And 1/2 of 4 is 2, and that's going to be negative 2. And 1/2 of 8 is 4, and a negative times negative is positive 4. Okay, so is that right? 1/4 of 8 is 2. Yep, that's right. It's 2. Okay, so I'm going to add 2y. And I'm going to subtract 1 and add 17. So I get 4y is less than, let's see, that's 3 plus 17, 20. Divide by 4, y is less than 5. Okay, so y is less than 5, less than 5. So negative infinity to 5. Okay, whew. And I'm going to do the same thing here. 1/3 of 6 is 2x, and 1/3 of 24 should be 8 minus 20. And 1/4 of 12 should be 3, be negative 3x. And 1/4 of 72, oh, I don't know what 1/4 of 72 is. Let's see. 72 divided by 4, 18 plus 18. So add 3x minus 8 plus 20, which is, what is that, 12 plus 12. It's easier for me to write it that way since I'm running out of room. So I've got 5x is greater than 30. Divide by 5. X is going to be greater than 6. So that would be from 6 to infinity. Okay, there we go. Questions? Awesome.